Welcome to our channel. Today's story is a tale about a protective mother and her extraordinary daughter. In a village nestled between rolling hills, a woman named Adana lived with her daughter Zuri. But their life wasn't easy. You see, Adana had forbidden her daughter from ever speaking. The reason? Well, that's what we are going to find out. Every day, as the sun rose and set, Adana's resolve grew stronger. She had shielded her daughter from the world, not out of malice, but because she was protecting her from something sinister. As the years rolled by, the townspeople whispered and gossiped, their words like sharp stones. But Adana remained steadfast. She found solace in the sweet, innocent laughter of her daughter, a sound far more precious than any word. One fateful day, a terrible sickness swept through the town. It clung to the villagers like a hungry beast, refusing to let go. The healers tried their remedies, but nothing worked. Fear painted grim faces on everyone as death seemed to linger at their doorsteps. Then, as if a bolt from the blue, the villagers remembered Zuri, the silent girl. Rumors spread like wildfire, linking her silence to the curse that plagued their town. Tempers flared and Adana found herself at the center of a raging storm. Blaming her for their misfortunes, they demanded that she leave their town. With heavy steps, Adana and her daughter walked away from the only home they had ever known. Tears streamed down Zuri's face as she clutched her mother's hand. But Adana, though her own heart was breaking, held her chin high. She wiped the tears from her daughter's face and said, "Don't cry. We are stronger together." Years passed and Zuri blossomed into a beautiful young woman. Despite the hardships they faced, her spirit remained unbroken. But the question lingered, why had Adana kept her daughter silent for so long? The answer lay hidden, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Meanwhile, back in the village, the crops failed and the people suffered. Every day, their hope dwindled like the water. He would scrub his skin raw, crying, "Mama, the dirt won't come off." But if only she had listened to the shocking reason why. Grab your popcorn, let us enjoy the story together. If you are new here, please do not forget to subscribe, comment what you feel about this story. Once upon a time in a little village tucked away in the lush green hills of Nigeria, there lived a young prince named Itohan. Itohan was not your typical pampered royal. Though born into luxury, his world was not confined to the gilded halls of his father's palace. He loved exploring the vast mango orchard bordering their compound, especially at dusk when fireflies danced in the twilight and the air hummed with the song of crickets. His afternoons were spent playing with the village children, trading marbles, and sharing tales under the shade of the old baobab tree. One particular evening, while the other children were busy mimicking the antics of the local toucans, Itohan sat alone by the edge of the orchard. He was unusually quiet, his big brown eyes gazing intently at the ground. When the other kids noticed, they stopped their games and trooped down to where he was sitting. "What is it, Itohan? Why aren't you playing with us?" asked one of them, a girl named Zara, who was known for her infectious giggle. But Itohan did not respond. His gaze was fixed on a small patch of dirt at his feet. Slowly, he stretched out a hand to poke at the ground. "Let's play King of the Hill," he suggested, his voice barely a whisper. The other kids looked at each other in confusion. "We were already playing King of the Hill," Zara said, puzzled. "Oh, I don't mean this game," Itohan replied, his eyes still glued to the ground. "I want to show you what I found." He continued to poke at the dirt, making small divots with his finger. "Come closer," he beckoned, his voice barely audible. Zara leaned in, her face scrunching in concentration. But all she saw was dirt, the same reddish-brown soil that covered the entire orchard. "What is it? What do you see, Itohan?" she asked, her brow furrowed in confusion. But Itohan was not there to answer. He was lost in his own world, still staring intently at the ground. "I can see it moving," he whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. "Look, it's raising its head." The other children gathered closer, straining to see what Itohan was seeing. "I think you have been out in the sun too long," one of them said, chuckling. "You must be seeing things." But Itohan shook his head, his eyes never leaving the ground. "No, it's real," he insisted. "I can feel it stirring beneath the dirt. It's waking up." The other kids exchanged confused glances. They couldn't see what Itohan was seeing. At first, they thought it was some kind of game, a new imaginative world Itohan had created for them to play. But as the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows stretched across the orchard, Itohan's insistence turned their amusement into worry. They had never seen him so serious, so focused on something that was not there. "I think we should go tell the adults," someone suggested hesitantly. And so the children left Itohan and ran to find the nearest adult, an old woman who sold corn on the cob at the entrance of the village. She was known for her wisdom and kindness, and the children hoped she could help them solve their friend's strange dilemma. The old woman listened patiently to the children's tale, her weathered face creased with concern. When they finished, she looked down at Itohan, who had come with them, his eyes still searching the ground. "Can you show me what you see?" she asked gently. Itohan nodded and led her to the baobab tree where he had first spotted the moving dirt. "There," he said, pointing to a small patch of soil at the base of the tree. "I can feel it moving underneath the ground," he whispered, his voice filled with awe. The old woman closed her eyes, concentrating. A knowing smile slowly spread across her face. "Ah, yes, I can feel it too," she said softly. When she opened her eyes, they twinkled with understanding. "Don't worry, little ones," she said, turning to the children. "What you are witnessing is not a cause for alarm. It is a sign of great power awakening beneath the earth."
The village called him a monster. But if only they knew the shocking reason why he locked his only son in the house for many years. Watch to find out. Please subscribe and tell us all the story's moral lessons.
He locked his son in a dark hut his entire life. The village called him a monster, but if only they knew the shocking reason why he did it. Once upon a time, in a village nestled between rolling hills, lived a man named Jabri and his son, Kale. Their home was a place of shadows, for Jabri kept his only child locked away in a hut built with thick clay. And no windows, a home that had never known the kiss of the sun. Whilst other men taught their sons to hunt, Jabri taught Kale the world through stories told in hushed tones. The people waited for years, but Jabri never brought the boy out, keeping him hidden like a secret. At first, the villagers whispered with pity, assuming the boy was sick or that Jabri's grief from losing his wife had made him a madman. But as years stretched on, pity curdled into suspicion and then bitter resentment. "What kind of man keeps his own son like a bat in a cave?" the women would mutter. The children made a cruel game of running past the dark hut, chanting, "Demon boy, come out from your shadow." Still, Jabri never flinched. He never offered an apology or a single word of explanation. At night, inside the darkness, he would hold his son's hands and whisper, "My son, forgive me for this prison. Endure this shadow a little longer. Your sacrifice is a shield for this village that scorns us." The people began to call Jabri a tyrant, a monster. An elder named Oho spread new, venomous lies, claiming he saw strange lights and heard inhuman cries from the hut, accusing Jabri of sorcery. Jabri pleaded his innocence, but their hearts were locked against him. For 16 years, Kyle grew up in the dark, his other senses growing sharp and powerful. He possessed a secret gift, the reason for his imprisonment. Kale was born with truth-seeing eyes, a power that allowed him to see the true nature of any living thing. But a terrible curse was bound to this gift. The village seer had warned Jabri the day Kale was born. "Jabri," she had whispered, "his eyes can see the truth in any man's heart. But the sun is the enemy of this gift. If a single ray of direct sunlight ever touches his open eyes, he will be blind forever." Jabri's choice had been a cruel one: give his son the world of light, or protect a divine gift that could one day save his people. He chose the latter. One day, a stranger arrived. His name was Fallon, and he walked out of the forest as if made of sunlight. His smile was dazzling, and his voice was like honeyed wine. He quickly won the hearts of the villagers, solving their problems and promising a brighter future. The village began to adore him. Everyone, except Jabri. From the hut, he asked his son what he saw. Kale, peering through a crack in the door, recoiled. "Father," he whispered, his voice trembling, "everyone in the village has a light inside them. But that man, he has no light at all. He is a hollow thing, Father, a deep, dark emptiness wearing a man's skin." Jabri knew then that this stranger was a plague. Folarin's power over the village grew. The villagers, drunk on his promises, turned on Jabri with renewed hatred. The day of the annual Sun Festival arrived. At the height of the celebration, Elder Oho pointed to the hut. "Brothers and sisters," he bellowed, "for 16 years, a child has suffered under a cruel father. We must free the boy and bring him into the sun." A wave of righteous, misguided heroism swept through the crowd. They surged towards the hut, ignoring Jabri's desperate cries. "No. Stop. You fools," he screamed, but his voice was swallowed. They threw him to the earth, his heart shattering as he watched them smash down the door. They rushed inside, their torches flooding the gentle darkness. Kale cried out, covering his sensitive eyes. They grab him, their hands rough. "You are free, boy. Come and feel the sun." They drag him out of the only world he had ever known and into the searing light of the village square. From the ground, Jabberee let out a primal scream of agony. His eyes! For the love of the gods, cover his eyes! But it was too late. For a few glorious seconds, the world exploded into brilliant color for Kale. He saw the green of the trees, the blue of the sky. It was more beautiful than any story. And then he saw him. Standing beside the chief was Folklore. Kale's truth-seeing eyes, in their last moments of power, saw the monster hiding beneath the charming smile. It was not a man at all, but a horrifying creature of ancient shadow and insatiable greed, with skin like cracked earth and eyes like burning coals. As the searing pain began to burn away his vision, Kale raised a trembling hand. "Monster," he screamed, his voice a sound of pure terror. "He is not a man. He is a shadow here to devour you all." As he screamed, his eyes flared with a final, brilliant flash of light. In that flash, every villager saw what he saw, the hollow emptiness, the shadow demons standing in their midst. Folklore, his disguise ripped away, let out an unearthly shriek as the sunlight burned him. He dissolved into a cloud of greasy black smoke and fled. Kale collapsed, clutching his face. "The sun, it burns," he cried, and then there was only darkness. For a few moments, a heavy silence fell over the village square. Then the murmurs started, growing louder and louder. Soon the square was a cacophony of whispers, each person trying to make sense of what they had seen, what they had done. From that day forward, everything changed. Kale, though he could no longer see, could still feel the truth in people's hearts and became the village's most revered counsel. He had lost his sight, but not his vision. The people learned their lesson the hard way. Never judge a man by the shadows he is forced to keep, nor mistake a beautiful lie for a difficult truth. They taught their children the story of the boy who lived in darkness to protect them from it, and of the father who bore the world's hatred to save his son.